traumatically affected. We want, when they wake up in the morning, we want them to not want to go to work because they are increasingly viewed as the villains. We want their funding to be shut down so that the EPA can't do all of the rules against our energy industry because they have no bandwidth financially to do so. We want to put them in trauma.
Okay, that was Project 2025 architect Russell Vogt speaking to a conservative group in 2023, explaining what a second Trump administration would mean for unelected federal workers. Vogt currently serves now as the director of the Office of Management and Budget in the Trump administration, which has been involved in the downsizing of the federal government. Joining us now, staff writer at The Atlantic, David A. Graham. He is the author of the new book entitled The Project, How Project 2025 is Reshaping America.
David, thank you so much for being with us. You know, I'm so glad our crack staff, who gets so much sleep working through the night, actually got that quote, because I think it's one of the most important quotes to understand when all the chaos was unfolding the first month. People said, what's happening? It was all according to plan, even traumatizing federal workers, as Russell Vogt says there. That was, I think, in 2023.
Right.
He said, we want to traumatize them so much that they don't want to go to work.
Right. It looks like chaos to us, but it's totally planned. It's the way they laid it out. And I think the way you hear him talk, he sounds so mild-mannered and he's saying these really radical things. And I think that's true of a lot of Project 2025, which sounds very technocratic and bland, and is in fact a really radical plan to remake American society.
And talk about what's at the heart of that. Republican came in 1994. We wanted to get rid of 4 cabinet agencies. We wanted to downsize the federal government. Is this a natural outshoot of that? Is that sort of that conservative
waste, fraud, and abuse?
Waste, fraud, and abuse, sell the spectrum, all these things we were doing to try to balance the budget. It seems to me, though, this takes it a step further. Nobody, we were always talking about balancing the budget. Nobody ever said, let's traumatize federal workers.
Yeah, I mean, there's a connection to that older conservatism, but I think this is another step beyond. I mean, it's a willingness to, first of all, it's trying to accrue a lot of executive power, which is, traditionally not something that conservatives like.
No, not at all.
And it's about using the coercive power of the government to affect people's lives, I think, in a way that other conservatives have resisted for a long time.
I've got to say, Rev, that's a great point, too. We were such dorks. We'd wear Article 1 buttons, basically saying it starts with us. Funding starts with us. Don't try to do anything. We are against the imperial presidency. That's completely changed, too.
Yeah. That's completely changed. And one of the things I think is important about David's book is that those of us that have opposed this administration, whether it's the left or civil rights people or whatever, don't understand they have a plan. And your strategy has to address their plan, because you could inadvertently help their plan by adding to the trauma and the drama and doing things that feed right into the image they want to counter you. Talk about how methodical their plan is, and you have to have a methodical counter plan if you're going to win this.
That's right. I mean, it's amazing for them to lay this out. They put this on the internet 18 months before the election, and people kind of ignored it. We talked about it a little during the election last year, but I think people just didn't really understand how sweeping it was. And when I sat down to read the whole thing, even having read bits and pieces a lot, I was shocked at just how radical it was and how sweeping it was.
So in fairness, we should remind people the Harris campaign made this the centerpiece of their argument against Donald Trump. They said, read Project 2025 if you want to know what the second Trump administration would look like. And here it is. Donald Trump during the campaign said, I don't know anything about it. I don't know who these people are. It's what he does. So let's be more specific about how some of that document has now been translated into policy in the country. What have we seen in these first couple of months?
Well, I think so much of what we've seen, whether it's the executive orders on day 1 and on day 2, and since then, Those are straight from a playbook they put out. You look at the layoffs of federal workers, you see attempts to close the education department. It's just point by point right from here. And I think the thing that gets missed is people talk about the policies, but it's so much a scheme for how to rework the entire shape of government, and that's something that I think maybe didn't come through during the campaign.
So David, tell us what's still to come, because I know you recently wrote about how you feel like what Project 2025's next focus, the administration's next focus, might be actually on the family. Explain that.
Yeah, I think the focus on the family is maybe the most important thing for a lot of the authors. They care very deeply about this. They want a very traditional Christian family, biblically based vision, fathers working, mothers raising children. Obviously, anti-abortion policy is a big part of this. And because this is so deeply held, it sort of suffuses the whole project. I think this is something we haven't seen a lot so far, but it's going to be very important in the months and years to come.
How do you implement that through, because again, this is the sort of thing that conservatives, small government conservatives would say, stay out of our homes.
That's
we'll
right.
Take care of ourselves.
Through every part of the government. So that's the Department of Health and Human Services. That's using the Department of Labor to track statistics. It's using, you name it. Every department becomes part of the scheme.
David, let me ask you really quickly. Do you think the administration and maybe Russell Vogt and other people are surprised at something that I will say didn't surprise me at all? The pushback. Washington always wins. Now, it may take Washington longer to win, but Washington always wins in the end, because we've all seen every administration. We're going to come in, we're going to change everything. The people before us were idiots, we're smarter than everybody else. And like you go see them a year later, go, how you doing? Was the Bush administration really as dumb as you thought they were? Were the Obamas really as dumb as you thought they were? Do you think they're surprised at the pushback that they've gotten from all angles?
Yeah. I think Russell Vogt was prepared for this. He's such an insider. He spent so much time in government.
He knew this was going to happen.
He knew this was going to come, and that's why he wanted to move so quickly. That's why he wanted to be ready on day one.
What about Elon Musk?
As far as they can.
What about Elon Musk? You think Elon Musk might be a little surprised right now by what he's faced and how he's lost half of his fortune? Maybe. I don't know the exact numbers, so.
I think he is surprised, because he clearly doesn't understand how Washington works. And, Vogt is happy to use him as a vessel, get that as far as he can, and then he'll move on to the next thing.
All right.
And cost him $150 billion in the process. Russell goes, thank you. Punch the clock on your way back to California.
The new book, The Project, How Project 2025 is Reshaping America, is on sale now. Author and staff writer at The Atlantic, David A. Graham, thank you very much for coming on this morning. Congratulations on the book.